before Hera.
Zeus's first loves and the secret of Greek mythology by the traveler of myths. Zeus has already won the Titanomachy. The Titans have been subdued, and the new power has been established on Olympus. The realms have been divided. Poseidon rules the sea. Hades, the underworld, and Zeus, the sky and the earth. Yet power alone is not the end of Zeus's journey. The new world is in need of a new generation of gods. Symbolic gods who will, in reality, represent natural phenomena, powers, and even philosophical concepts. Let us call these gods the gods of men. And everything begins with something the myths describe with a word almost poetic: philotita, philotes. That is, attraction, union, creation. In other words, love, almost as mortals experience it. In today's episode, we shall see Zeus's first great loves, but also the secret, the allegory, if you prefer, that lies behind them. Together with Zeus, we shall encounter Metis, Themis, Eurynome, Demeter, and Mnemosyne. And of course, the great children born from his unions with them. The first recorded amorous adventure of Zeus concerns Metis, the daughter of Oceanus and Tethys, the personification of absolute knowledge. The myths claim that Metis knew more than all the gods together. Some even claim that it was she who gave Cronus the emetic potion by which he was forced to release the children he had swallowed. Yet, Metis is not only wise, she is also alluring, and Zeus, the new ruler of the world, very quickly recognizes two things he needs: her beauty, and above all, her knowledge. Thus is born the first great love on Olympus, and Metis conceives. But Zeus remembers an ancient prophecy, one that comes down to us through Hesiod's Theogony. First, a daughter shall be born, equal to her father in mind and will. Then a son destined to surpass him and take his throne. Zeus has no intention of repeating Cronus's mistake, and so he does something that the myths describe in a manner perhaps awkward, yet certainly allegorical. With sweet words, he takes Metis into his embrace and devours her. But this, as we said, is allegory. Zeus is no cannibal, nor is he a vandal wishing to destroy knowledge. The secret here is that Zeus eats, digests, and assimilates knowledge. Metis becomes part of his mind, the very foundation of his wisdom. And from that foundation, Athena, the goddess of wisdom, will one day be born, not from a womb, but from the very skull of Zeus. And the myth tells us that knowledge gave birth to wisdom. Yet the assimilation of knowledge, in order for wisdom to come to light, takes time. And Zeus has no intention of remaining idle, for he already knows that his kingdom, in reality, the kingdom of mortals, for as long as they are still alive, is in need of institutions and laws. For knowledge may illuminate and give birth to wisdom, but it cannot organize. For a world to stand, it needs rules. And so Zeus turns toward another Titaness, Themis. Her very name refers to justice and to the divine order that sustains the world. But Themis is not merely a goddess of justice, as she is often presented in a simplistic way. She is something deeper. She is the primordial order of things. She is that invisible principle which determines what is fitting, what is balanced, and what is in harmony with the order of the universe. The word Themis among the ancient Greeks did not mean merely law. It meant natural and social justice together. It meant that which is right because it is in harmony with the nature of things. The union of Zeus with Themis, therefore, is not merely another divine love affair. It is the moment when power is united with law. Without this union, Olympus would be merely a court of powerful beings. With it, it becomes an institution. And from this love, this philotes, as the ancient Greeks would say, are first born the ore, horai, evnomia, eunomia. Her name means good order, good governance. That is, the harmonious functioning of a society where each person knows his place, and institutions function without arbitrariness. Vicky. Dike. Her name means justice, that is, the restoration of balance when it is disturbed. It is the force that restores measure when hubris threatens to overthrow it. And Irene. Irene. Her name means peace, that is, the result of the first two. She is not born from wishes nor from good intentions. She is born only when there is eunomia and when dike is applied. 3 children, 3 names that may seem like simple concepts, and yet within them lies the entire architecture of human civilization. Zeus, or rather mythology through Zeus as its instrument, creates a new world. A world the ancient Greeks knew well, even in those moments when, through hubris, they strayed from eunomia and dike. Peace is neither a random condition nor heaven sent. It is the consequence of respect for institutions and laws. But for the world to function, institutions are not enough. It also needs something else. It needs the mechanism that connects actions to their consequences. And so, a little later, from that same union of Zeus with Themis, the Moirai are born, those who shape the destiny of gods and men alike. Their very name means fate. Clotho, the spinner. Lachesis, she who allots. Atropos, the unturning, the inevitable. Some think that the Moirai write the future, that they determine the fate of men according to some primordial plan. But the myths say something truer and far less dogmatic. The Moirai do not prophesy. They calculate. Clotho spins the thread of life. Today, we might say that she sets the initial material, heredity, the starting point each human being brings with him when he is born. Lachesis unwinds this thread and adds to it the consequences of each person's actions. Every choice, every deed, every hubris, or every virtue becomes part of the thread. And Atropos cuts the thread when the fitting moment arrives, not the predetermined one, but the fitting one. That is, the one arising from the combination of all that has preceded. Thus, the Moirai do not abolish freedom of will, they presuppose it, for without actions there would be no consequences. In other words, the universe of myth operates according to a law we might describe in 2 words, action and reaction. And even Zeus himself, who will later be called Moiragetis, which means the leader of the Moirai, cannot undo this law. If he did, he would commit hubris against the natural order of the world. Thus, thanks to Themis, Olympus acquires mechanisms that support order, enforce justice, and connect freedom with responsibility. In other words, a world is founded that does not guarantee harmony, but makes it possible. And this is perhaps the most interesting element of Greek mythology. The gods of mythology do not promise a perfect world. They simply create, or rather teach, the conditions for it to be able to exist. Whether Eunomia, Dike, and Irene will finally exist does not depend on Olympus. Good governance, justice, and peace depend on human beings, not on gods. Mythology, after all, is not a religion, but a world full of wisdom and institutions, even in a period of peace, becomes rather dull. Perhaps that is why Zeus already turns his interest toward Eurynome, the Oceanid, daughter of Oceanus and Tethys. Her name suggests something broad, something distributed widely and harmoniously. It is not a random name. In mythology, names are always hints. After knowledge, after law, and after the mechanism of fate, the world of Zeus needs something else. It needs beauty, beauty itself. Not beauty as mere aesthetic pleasure, but beauty as harmony, that force which makes the order of the world not only functional, but also attractive. Thus, From the union of Zeus with Eurynome, the Charites, are born. Their very name means grace, beauty, charm, favor. Aglaya, that is radiance, the light that makes things appear beautiful. Euphrosine, that is joy of soul, the cheerfulness that is born when a person is in harmony with the world around him. And Thalia, that is blooming, the vitality that makes life blossom. Three deities who do not govern, do not judge, and do not impose. They adorn with their grace. And the word charis among the ancient Greeks did not simply mean grace in the modern sense. It meant that force which makes something beautiful, harmonious, and desirable without becoming vulgar. The charites are alluring without provocation, desirable without vulgarity, naked without shame. In other words, they represent the pure form of beauty. That is why they will become inseparable companions of the muses who are soon to be born. They are found at the banquets of the gods, in the mysteries of Eleusis, at Delphi, in every place where art and spiritual cultivation meet human experience. Through the charities is expressed the idea that beauty is not an invitation to instinct. It is initiation into harmony. The true artist does not use beauty to arouse the baser passions, he uses it to purify the gaze. Thus, the charites teach something that Diotima will later express philosophically to Socrates, that love concerns not only beautiful bodies, it also concerns beautiful ideas. Thus, the world has already acquired new dimensions. With Metis, knowledge; with Themis, law thanks to her daughters the Horae, and consequences thanks to her other daughters the Moirai. And now, with the charites, it acquires beauty, for a world that functions without beauty is merely mechanism. The charites make it resemble civilization. But this beautiful structure of the new world cannot stand if man does not satisfy one basic need, the need for food. And Zeus, now so wise thanks to his first lovers, turns to Demeter. Demeter, the daughter of Cronus and Rhea, one of the most ancient and revered deities of the Greek world. Her name means Mother Earth. She is the one who, symbolically, grants flowering to the plant kingdom and, by extension, life to the animal kingdom. She is protectress of grain. She makes the fields grow green, the valleys fill with ears of wheat, and man pass from the wild survival of the hunter to cultivation and organized civilization. It is no accident that agriculture for the ancient Greeks was not merely a technique, it was a divine gift. In Demeter's hands, two symbols are often depicted: the ear of wheat and the pomegranate. The ear of wheat is the food of mortals, the basis of human survival. The pomegranate, however, has a deeper symbolism. It hints at the cycle of life, the seed that falls into the earth in order to be born again. In other words, within Demeter coexist fertility and the mystery of rebirth. So when the nets of Philotes ensnare Zeus and Demeter, this union concerns not only Olympus, it concerns the whole earth, and from this union a daughter is born. At first they call her simply Kore. The word Kore is not a name. It is a description. It denotes youth, virginity, the purity of first age. Later, however, she will acquire a much weightier name, Persephone, the bringer of destruction. And in older forms of the tradition she will also be heard as Persephassa, bringer of death, names that no longer belong to the innocence of the young girl. They carry something darker, more mysterious. For Persephone is not destined to remain on Olympus. Myth would have her become queen of the underworld. One day, say the myths, while she is playing in a flower-filled meadow with the nymphs, Pluto will see her. He will fall in love with her and seize her, with the silent consent of Zeus himself. Demeter will then wander the earth searching for her daughter. And as she mourns, the earth will cease to bear fruit. Thus is born one of the most vivid myths of Greek thought, the myth of the seasons. When Persephone rises again to her mother, the earth blossoms. When she returns to Hades, the earth withers. The secret here, that is the allegory, is that Persephone is the seed that is buried in the darkness of the earth in order to be born again. Thus, through this union of Zeus with Demeter, the world acquires something more. The cycle of life and death, and along with it, the promise of rebirth. But at last, the moment has come for Zeus to meet Mnemosyne. Mnemosyne, the Titaness, daughter of Uranus and Gaia. Her name means exactly what it declares: memory. Not merely the ability to remember events, but the power that retains experience and transforms it into knowledge. The power that allows man to innovate and move toward the future while keeping alive the roots of the past. For memory is that which saves the world from oblivion. Without memory, no experience could become wisdom. No suffering could become a lesson, no action would leave a trace in time, and the wheel would have to be invented again and again. The myths say that the love of Zeus and Mnemosyne lasted 9 nights. For a god like Zeus, this seems almost a model of a stable relationship. Each night gives birth to a daughter, and thus the 9 muses are born. Perhaps the most poetic and the most inspired invention of Greek mythology. From Mnemosyne are born inspiration and the fine arts. Clio, the muse of history and the memory of glory. Euterpe, the muse of music and harmony. Thalia, the muse of comedy. Melpomene, the muse of tragedy. Terpsichore, the muse of dance and lyric poetry. Erato, the muse of erotic inspiration. Polyhymnia, the muse of sacred hymns. Urania, the muse of the sciences and astronomy. And Calliope, the muse of epic poetry, the muse who will later inspire Homer. But the muses are not merely deities of the arts. They are inspiration itself. Through them, human beings can transform memory into speech, pain into poetry, and experience into civilization. Thanks to the muses, tragic human beings find a way to speak of their sufferings without collapsing beneath their weight. They sing them, and thus, human existence acquires something more than mere survival. It acquires meaning. The ancient Greeks knew this well. They knew that whatever is not remembered is lost, and whatever is not sung does not become immortal. Thus, with Mnemosyne and the Muses, the world acquires art. This is how the world of the symbolic gods of the Greeks was built, without dogmas, without commandments, and with nothing else except allegories that lay the foundations of a civilization. Yet, this is only the beginning. For until now, Zeus has encountered lovers, allies, teachers of knowledge, law, beauty, and art. Soon, however, another figure will appear, not merely a lover, a wife, a figure who will bring with her jealousy, power, marriage, and royal order on Olympus. And above all, family institutions and laws which for the first time concern human beings. A golden-sandaled Argive woman, Hera. But that in a future episode. Until then, be well. If you enjoyed this journey into the world of myths, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell so you won't miss the next episode. The journey continues. If there's a myth you'd like us to explore, tell us in the comments. The Traveler of Myths gladly takes requests, with just one small condition. If the story comes from Apollodorus without the approval of Hesiod or Homer, we may need to investigate first. Otherwise, your wish is a command. Until our next mythological journey, stay well and steer clear of strife and quarrels.